Origin just UX, and this is America's new F-15-EX dominates disputed airspace, but on task and purpose. Yeah, I realized that there was, F-15 and F-16s are going to be around and they're going to be updated or something. This is the updated one, F-15-EX, right? F-16 is also getting updated, if I remember correctly. I know people told me in the comments, why am I talking about F-16 a lot? But that's the feeling I'm getting. Am I wrong here? Like, even the F-15, F-16s are kind of like older. The newer ones like F-18 and F-22 was like somehow better. But F-15, F-16s are so good in a way that they can be transformed into something new. That's why F-16 and F-15s are staying for multiple decades, isn't it? So I'm guessing both are getting updated, or is it just F-15 that get updated? I don't know, man. So I haven't watched any video about F-18. Super Hornet, is that the name? Hornet, Super Hornet. Yeah, apparently that is also an insane plane. Yeah, so you need to look in there. There's F-18 video I haven't seen, and there's that French plane. The India also has it, apparently, I realize, which is also good. Rafale, whatever, right? Which is also somehow good. It's like newer plane, like from 21st century. So these two videos, I think I already know which videos, from which channel I'm gonna watch it. I still haven't got around to it. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna watch that. But yeah, this is the F-15-EX. Dominates a disputed air. What does that mean? I mean, obviously F-15s are faster. Obviously, near Mach 3, if I remember correctly. So I guess his job is to go to like places that is inhospitable, just do shoot and run away. Is that his job? I'm guessing that must be his job, right? Otherwise, other things like I said, F-22, F-16, F-18 are more agile than this. This is faster. I don't know. This F-15, if I can sum up right, is like combination of interceptor and a dogfighting plane, like middle of that, right? At least that's what I'm thinking of in my head. So yeah, let's watch this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react to more. I've been watching military style video a lot. There is no trend. I just like became interested into this one, so I'm watching it. I still have like other videos to watch, some history videos, also like Vendigoon videos about like there's also like there was a, what's that called? There's a latest video he has like about Yeti and things. I forgot the name of it, what it's called, right? There's video like that. Many videos that are still in my watch later list. But right now I'm doing military thing. I think I'm going to start doing like Vendigoon and other videos as well from tomorrow. I'll amp up the video numbers. Right now I'm posting 2 or 3 and those are the military one. But I'm going to start posting 4 or 5 videos a day if I can and add the other ones as well. So yeah, let's do this one. Whoa. Oh, there you go.
The American F-15-EX is a new super interceptor designed to patrol the world's most dangerous and disputed airspace.
Wait a minute. It's an interceptor? Okay, how is it F-15 interceptor? Isn't it like combination of interceptor and also like agile dogfighting plane? I didn't know it was a pure interceptor. Because they made this in answer to MiG-25 and they thought that was like a dogfighting plane, so they made this in answer to that and made it agile and fast. So I guess it's like combination of both, right? It's not just interceptor, I don't know.
In the South China Sea and Eastern Europe. In fact, NATO scrambled jets 570 times in 2022 to respond to Russian aircraft. That's more than once per day. And Japan is forced to scramble F-15s every time China violates their airspace. The number of Chinese airspace incursions has jumped up from 96 in 2010 to 675 in 2019.
Ooh.
But critics have been quick to point out that
what does that mean? Scramble, what does it mean? They got into fight? They shoot at each other? What does that mean? Or they just like come close to it? Like everybody just like, they're like gorilla, like banging chairs. Whoa, what you want? And just walk away.
The F-15 is ancient. It was originally manufactured in 1976, and it's quickly headed into retirement by now. Many are starting to question the logic of investing millions of dollars into upgrading the F-15 into the EX, because it might seem like a step backwards in this modern, fancy era of stealth technology. But the truth isn't that simple.
Especially when Soviets are creating another interceptor, right? I saw the video of it. What was it called? Su something that's supposed to be better than the Blackbird or something, right? Yeah. But they're also making Blackbird SR-72, right? That is also an interceptor. Blackbird is a spy plane. I forgot, special reconnaissance. Okay.
The new F-15 will have some new weapons and flight capabilities that modern stealth aircraft lack. Today, we're going to dive into all of that, and we're going to learn a little bit about where international airspace law came from in the first place, which is something every F-15
People got together
pilot
and just
needs
wrote
to
it down.
know
I
about.
don't know.
But first, I want to tell you about the folks that made this video possible. Non-firing 1/3 scale goat
Look at the
guns.
goat guns.
They manufacture model replica weapons with realistic dummy
I don't know why I find that sick. I mean, somebody should make a t-shirt out of that shit. This is so good. Look at that.
parts. Father's Day is June 18th, and if you haven't snagged a gift for your pops yet, you'll want to head over to goatguns.com to check out their ridiculously huge selection of miniature die-cast metal replicas.
What?
They've got something for every type of dad out there.
I still
whether
don't
he's a
understand this
gun
one.
lover, history buff, or gamer. These non-firing models are the perfect gift. And with over 15,000 five-star reviews, you know you won't be disappointed. They've got models from virtually every
They should think about selling that to like overseas, like in India or something, where people can't buy guns. So this would be cool. Why in US like people can buy guns? Like why would you want something like this when you can buy AR-15s or whatever?
era, like the M1 Garand from World War II, the M16A1 from Vietnam, or even a brand new Russian AK-12 that just dropped. So no matter what war you want to drop into, you'll be ready to rock. And right now, you'll get 10%
alright.
off a pack.
It's an exact replica that doesn't fire, but it's like an exact replica. So the weapons you can't buy, you can like Russian weapons or M16 that you probably can't buy.
of 3 and 20% off a pack of 10. Add some flair to your coffee table, desk, or shelf at home. You can support the channel by clicking the link below and grabbing some awesome non-firing replicas today. In producing the F-15-EX, we admittedly took the long scenic route. So the way it happened was during the early 2000s, the F-22 was supposed to replace the aging F-15, but its program's budget was slashed by 75%. This led to only 195 aircraft being
Well, what? How the fuck F-22 is supposed to replace F-15? They are not the same. F-22 replacing F-16 makes sense, but F-15 is like faster. There's like multiple, like 2 jets in it, right? It's like 2.5, 2.8 Mach, while F-22 doesn't go that speed. How are the same plane?
being purchased, which is about a third of what the US Air Force originally wanted. In 2009, the F-22 production line was completely shut down, and it's been impossible to restart. This forced the Air Force to keep the old F-15 past its expiration date
Why is
in
it
order
impossible to
maintain
start?
a fleet size large enough to respond to airspace violations in Europe and the Pacific at the same time. So in order to solve this problem, the United States Air Force decided to order 104 of the new upgraded F-15-EX multi-role fighters, marking the first order of F-15s in over 20 years. Earlier this year, the United States Air Force announced that after 2 years of extensive testing and study, the latest upgrades to the F-15 platform had actually smashed a new record in terms of capabilities and expectations. What this means is that it's able to perform as both a fighter and a bomber, except at a much lower cost than the F-35. Now,
I mean, look, man, F-15s are untouchable, right? Not a single F-15 was ever shot down. Now you can upgrade that. I mean, like, it's like you're the undisputed powerhouse of the world and just like upgrade it to match the latest thing. It makes sense.
according to Boeing, the new plans will extend the service life of the aircraft well into the 2030s, which would make it the longest serving fighter aircraft in American history. Unsurprisingly, like all decisions involving the military-industrial complex, it was met with a bunch of support and criticism from political leaders and internet forum trolls. But to be fair, you can understand where they're coming from. The sticker price on the new F-15-EX will run you about $80 million, while the most recent batches of F-35As cost slightly less at $78 million, leading many to rightfully question why the government has decided to spend more money on an old aircraft originally built in 1976 with zero.
Wow, why is it cheaper than F-35? What the fuck? I get it, F-35 is not going to be faster as F-15. It's like, again, 2 jets, but F-35's technology is like insane. How is it cheaper?
Stealth capabilities. Now, to address the elephant in the room, yes, the F-15-EX is about as far from a stealthy aircraft as you can get without painting it neon orange and emailing the bad guys that you're coming.
It's going to be faster,
But
right?
there are 2 valid reasons for this: mission specificity and international markets. Modern stealth aircraft are designed for highly contested airspace. This means stealth was prioritized over everything else at the cost of speed, maneuverability, payload capacity, operational range, and operating costs. The F-15 is a specific tool for a specific job. It excels at intercepting aircraft in areas that are in dispute in international territory. The second advantage is export market. Believe it or not, it was the push for upgrades by foreign nations like Israel and 6 other countries that essentially subsidized the cost to develop.
Oi, you going to sell us F-22s? Nah. You can upgrade F-15, sure, we'll see about that.
Developing this model, and in turn kept the R&D prices much lower than they would have been otherwise. And the EX was developed.
Okay, another thing I just realized, like, why can't you restart the F-22 making that? Like, what, you just forgot how to make it? That doesn't make sense. And you didn't sell them to other people before, because now you like next generation of air dominance, you're going above F-22. Why not sell F-22 now to your allies that are close to you? At least you can sell to them.
With export in mind, as an alternative for nations without these large military budgets, so they could still upgrade their existing fleet with the highly capable aircraft that won't break the bank.
I think a lot of it comes down to its interceptor and escort capabilities. So an interceptor is a fighter whose design and armament are the best fit for responding to airspace violations and defeating invading fighters or bombers. For example, the F-15-EX is a dual F-110 GE-129 engine. They're capable of generating 29,000
Is it different from the original F-15 or the same one?
pounds of thrust. This allows the fighter to top out at a speed of Mach 2.5 or 1,650 miles per hour, even at high altitude, faster than both the F-22 and F-35. In fact, this top speed altitude, faster than both.
Oh my god, I forgot. F-22 goes to 2.25 Mach. How the fuck is that possible? F-22 is one of the most agile stealth dogfighting plane. It goes to 2.25 Mach. That's an insane plane, man. I still feel like the next generation plane obviously is better, but I hope they just take F-22 and like take that as a base and upgrade it from there and make it like next generation of air dominance fighter. Because this is insane plane. Like F-16 cannot go like what, 1.4, 1.5, it just like stays between like 0.8 and 1.2 Mach thing most of the time. And it's agile as fuck, right? I don't know how F-18 works, but F-22 being this kind of insane, but 2.25 Mach is insane.
The F-22
That's a high speed for something like that.
In fact, this top speed makes the F-15-EX the literal fastest fighter jet in the entire world. This gives it an incredibly fast response time to intercept enemy aircraft. We need only look at this recent footage that was released by the US Department of Defense showing an incident with a Chinese J-16 interceptor that flew in front of a US military recon plane that was casually flying inside international airspace. This dangerous move caused the US recon plane to shake from the J-16's jet wash. If there had been two F-15s escorting it, this likely never would have happened. F-15
Chinese are growing balls, I'm not gonna lie. It's one thing to like bully Taiwanese people, right? The way they do it. Real life Lore making a video about it, how they constantly violate that space, and yeah, then like directly go into the face of USA. It's like, I get it, China's getting stronger, but they're nowhere near USA.
Team pilots are frequently one decision or one Foxtrot 2 away from bringing the world to World War III. So it's important they have a strong understanding of international airspace law. My brain is going to stall just thinking of this. Typically, it's clear where a country's airspace is and when it's being violated, right? I mean, it's clear when I step from American soil to Mexican soil.
Not
With
really.
airspace, it's not so simple. Yes, a basic principle of international air law is that every country has complete and exclusive sovereignty over their airspace above its territory.
China can just say that this is our place. Don't come here. It's like they're even claiming that Arunachal Pradesh is their state suddenly now. We don't agree with the British people who just like draw the line, all that, like fuck you.
Territory, including its territorial sea. But it gets confusing when we look at where international airspace begins. For example, when we look at the US administered airspace, it appears at first glance to be massive and extends about 6,000 miles from the western coast of the country all the way to Indonesia, and another 1,000 miles off the east coast. A lot of people look at this and think, well, that's unfair. The United States is trying to control aircraft halfway around the world with their fighter jets. But that's not entirely accurate.
Yeah, this is like one of the biggest space on the planet. Pacific is insanely big. And it kind of makes sense like how US since the World Wars have been the one dominate that area.
Because this is just the US flight information region. People often confuse information regions for air defense identification zones. ADIZ, or Air Identification Zone, is a very important concept for fighter pilots to understand. ADIZ is an area of airspace over land or water in which a nation requires aircraft be identified, located, and controlled.
Yeah, it's not that they're claiming that space. They're like, whoa, you're coming too close to where I am, you better identify who you are. It's about defense. It makes sense. It's like, what are your intention here? You're getting too close.
In the interest of their national security. A country will use ground radar and fighter jets to enforce this. Now, this is a map of the United States Air Defense Identification Zone, and you can see it doesn't extend that far off the coast. From China's perspective, they claim the United States is being hypocritical here. Because I don't know if the United States would be cool if there were all kinds of J-16 Chinese fighter jets flying around the American ADIZ, or if there were aircraft carriers from China just off the coast, like how the United States is off the coast of China. So yeah, it's not lost on me.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, I guess. But then again, only reason US is there is because of Taiwan, right? China is threatening Taiwan. Taiwan is kind of important to China, USA. So because of Taiwan, they're flying that Taiwanese space, if I remember correctly. Well, I get it how China can see that as like a problem. But then again, US also like don't acknowledge Taiwan as a separate country because they don't want to anger Chinese. So it's just like tiptoeing between two things. That's the problem here, right? If US is point blank says like Taiwan is its own country, right? It's not part of China point blank. If there's like, I guess it would cause major issues. But at that point, like, they can just fly around Taiwanese space without any problem. But they're like, okay, we're not going to say anything. We're not going to say either way, implying that China can say like Taiwan is still China and why US planes are in Chinese space. Kind of makes sense.
So all of these capabilities are meant to defend disputed airspace off a nation's coast. So where did the concept of military airspace and water even come from? Air defense identification zones were actually first established by the US in December 27, 1950 by President Truman. The US was the driver of setting up ADIZ over the skies of Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and the Philippines, which was handed over to those countries. In 1982, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea set up the precedent that a nation's space extends 12 nautical miles from their coast. These imaginary lines in the sky are really life and death and have major consequences. For instance, in 1983, during the Cold War, a Soviet Su-15 interceptor made a mistake.
What the f*** is that, a pipe? What is that? How is that a plane? Or is it just the right angle looks like that? Is this a wing? Oh, I think that's a wing, but you're just seeing from that angle. It just looked like one small pipe.
And shot down an American 747 passenger flight, killing all 269 people on board and heightening the Cold War tensions. This happened because the aircraft...
Back up there. Who did what?
During the Cold War, a Soviet Su-15 interceptor made a mistake and shot down an American 747 passenger flight, killing all 200.
How didn't that make Cold War into hot one? Like, what more do you need? They just killed a lot of fucking people. 747, right? That's a jumbo jet. That's like much bigger than 737. So they just like, what the fuck? I'm surprised that didn't like kick off like war.
69 people on board and heightening the Cold War tensions. This happened because the aircraft accidentally veered into Soviet ADIZ and was mistaken for a bomber. It wasn't until November 23, 2013 that China first drew their idea of what their ADIZ should look like. And the way they drew it just so happened to overlap with Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea's previously claimed ADIZ lines. The real problem was China required all aircraft in what they claimed was their ADIZ to identify themselves and report.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't see the problem there. This is ADIZ, identifies. They're not saying this is my place. It's like, you're coming too close to China, identify who the fuck are you. You need to tell me who are you type of way. Right? You can be here, but you have to tell me. That's the point, right? US just can tell me, okay, we are US jet. We are just like reconnaissance here or whatever. I don't know, like whatever. But they just have to tell them, like identify, right? It can overlap other places. If you're close, then you're close. Doesn't matter which space you're overlapping.
Their flight information. China threatens that emergency defensive procedures will be taken if flights don't comply. Now, I think the pilots of the F-15 are briefed on rules of engagement and what they can do when they encounter a Chinese or Russian aircraft. In the Army, we had similar briefings about our ROE, or rules of engagement. The idea is to de-escalate things. What has increasingly been happening is China believes that they should be in charge of more of what is considered international airspace by law. They're sending messages over radio to US pilots demanding that US aircraft leave.
Order military airplane, please go away quickly.
I am a United States military aircraft conducting lawful military activities outside national airspace I am operating with due regard as required under international law.
What a polite conversation. So both these military personnel on China and the US side are reading from a pre-approved script that likely came down from the highest levels of each's government. There is one important aspect to the F-15-EX development that we need to keep in mind that explains why we need an upgraded interceptor to protect disputed airspace. These aircraft are not...
See, the problem here is China is growing, right? China is also growing aggressive. Now you can see China's point of view and you can understand that China has a point, sure. But at the same time, I'm thinking, let's look at the past. Like, you're a new growing power. Past is not going to get erased. Now in the past, certain spaces are dominated by US and drawn by US, right? I get it, you're the new guy, you say like, I want more, but that takes time. You can't just say like, since I have power now, I can flex more, I can show my muscle more by my planes and shit. You can't just attack that which was already in place, right? That's the problem here.
Not a retrofit of older aircraft with a handful of upgrades superglued on top. These are brand new aircraft being manufactured from the ground up. So the new F-15-EX will be able to fire 12 air-to-air missiles at once from a new outboard missile stations on it. This is up from the previous ability to fire 8 missiles at once. The creator of the F-15-EX at Boeing had previously stated that the fighter would actually be able to carry an insane 22 air-to-air weapons. However,
that's too many.
We're not really sure if that capability will be adopted or if that's something that's going to be added in the future. The reason this is important is because the Chinese J-16 claims to be able to carry 12 missiles. So the Air Force is trying to double the amount of munitions as compared to its rival. This is what Overmatch is all about. The F-15-EX will also have the new ability to carry unconventionally sized munitions, most significantly of which is the hypersonic missile, which are as long as 22 feet in length, about 7,000 pounds each. That's about twice the length of your typical air-to-air AIM Sidewinder missile, which only weighs 200 pounds. Stealth aircraft cannot do this. And so we start to see why resurrecting this old airframe and upgrading it.
I mean, look, man, stealth is stealth. Because of stealth, lots of things get compromised. Plane is smaller. It's made in a way that's not get detected and it will have a smaller jobs. This is just like point blank fighter. It doesn't want to hide. It just wants to fuck you up. That's what this plane is. So these are different jobs. F-35 is stealth. F-22 is stealth. And stealth is like one of the biggest weapons, sure. But when there is a need, like hiding is not the point. Fucking shit up is the point. It's like escort, like he said. If you're escorting, if your stealth won't matter because something you're escorting will not have stealth. So points like that, like intercepting, like something's detected, you're the one chasing it down. You don't have to hide now. You're chasing something else down.
It is a smart move because hypersonic missiles will play a key role in defeating enemy countermeasures. Since it doesn't rely on internal hardpoints that are necessary for stealth aircraft, instead it has traditional hard mounts on the wings and belly of the fuselage, giving it a total capacity of 29,500 pounds of ordnance payload. If this is true, it means the F-15-EX can carry the highest weapons payload of any fighter jet in the entire world. Israel's even planning to modify the F-15-EX to carry bunker-busting GBU-57 bombs. They say the plan is to blow up Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, a lot of people have pointed out that I pronounced nuclear wrong, and I want to say it's not a joke. I just have like a speech impediment. I'm from Long Island, and
what does he say?
Busting GBU-57 bombs. They say the plan is to blow up Iran's nuclear facilities. Now,
nuclear. Nucleus, nuclear. He says about right. How does he say wrong?
7 bombs. They say the plan is to blow up Iran's nuclear facilities.
He doesn't say it wrong. The fuck you on about?
I pronounced nuclear wrong, and
nuclear. That is how you say nuclear. It's not nuclear. It's nuclear, as in nucleus.
I want to say it's not a joke. I just have like a speech impediment. I'm from Long Island, where I learned how to say it wrong. I'm working with a speech therapist and a therapist on it right now. In order to deter Chinese fighter jets, the F-15-EX needs to be able to spot them first. Much like how armor is important to tanks, radar systems are important to aircraft survival. For radar tracking, the F-15-EX uses the new Raytheon AN APG-82, the latest in American aircraft radar
one?
that incorporates X-band Doppel pulses.
There you go.
What that translates to in human speak is that it's able to detect targets as high and fast as hypersonic cruise missiles down to small technical vehicles driving around the battlefield. According to the Warzone publication, this radar is truly the heart of the upgrade to the aircraft. This thing is beautiful. Stealth is important, but if you can see the enemy first and your missiles outrange them, then it's also a key aspect in air-to-air combat. Being an ASA, or actively electronically scanned array, means the F-15-EX itself will be much harder to jam, while also making it harder for targets to detect if they are being tracked themselves. In an air-to-air fight, these tracking systems are so advanced that they're able to detect targets well outside the visual range of the pilot and instantly beam target information.
Okay, this is the same radar system that F-35 has, right? If that's the case, can't F-35 can have this kind of like a connection with other F-35s, right? That's the thing. And I'm guessing the radar is the thing behind it. So I'm guessing because of this, they can also like connect with the F-15 if need be. That would be something.
To the pilot to their heads-up display. The F-15-EX is also able to track and strike ground targets, which is a crazy capability in its own right. To do this, the EX uses the new Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod. It weighs about 450 pounds and has much lower aerodynamic drag than the old Lantern systems that it replaces. The pod's FLIR, or thermal camera, allows observation and tracking through smoke and clouds and in low light, no light conditions. So if there's any UFOs or aliens flying around, this thing is gonna detect it. The Air Force plans to procure at least 522 sniper pods from Lockheed Martin's total contract, which is worth up to $843 million. To help put the concerns of the F-15 being old to bed, according to Boeing Vice President for the F-15 program, Prat Kumar,
There is an Indian in the head of everything, man.
Flight control system and one of the fastest, most capable mission computers in the world. It has an advanced all-glass cockpit that can display synthesized data in a way that is useful for the warfighter. It has the most advanced radar on any fighter jet and carries more weapons than any other fighter. Now, the new F-15 will also have a huge combat range of almost 800 miles, which gives this aircraft the ability to intercept far away from where they were originally.
That might not seem that high compared to the other ones that have like a longer range, but this is like Mach 2.5. Having that kind of a speed with this kind of a range is insane.
Launched. The Warzone Tyler Rodgeway pointed out one of the main controversies about the F-15-EX, its conformal fuel tanks, which are additional fuel tanks fitted closely to the profile of an aircraft.
I didn't even see that. That's a fuel tank.
It looks like the Air Force will not be acquiring this capability, which would be absolutely vital in the South China Sea in an air-to-air disputed role. The CFTs are standard issue on old F-15 Eagles, so it's a surprise to see that they're not getting funded here. Conformal fuel tanks do have a negative impact on an aircraft's performance. You know, when it comes to agility, speed, accelerations, we have to admit that it's not great for that, and it can't be jettisoned by pilots to regain that flight penalty like other fuel tanks have been in the past. It's critical for us to understand how cost-effective the new fighter will be. Currently, the F-15-EX costs about $29,000 per hour that it's in flight. That's about a third less than the F-35A, which sits at $43,000 of operating per hour. More impressive though, is that the F-15 has a 20,000 flight hour lifespan for its airframe when compared to the F-35's 8,000 flight hour lifespan. It also shares 75% of its parts in common with the old F-15 model already in use, meaning logistics supply chains are already in place and will largely stay the same. Now, I'm not saying any of this to knock the F-22 and F-35. Those are incredible aircraft. I'm just saying that the F-15 as an interceptor is a really...
Yeah, F-35 is just like too advanced. And if that's the case, it's gonna be costlier compared to anything. You don't want that doing everything, do you? That's gonna be a problem. Even if it can, why use that if you don't have to?
Really great tool for dominating disputed airspace and has some key advantages. The F-15-EX has this unique multi-role capability to target both air and ground targets. This is especially significant for SEAD operations. What are SEAD operations? This is an Air Force concept of suppression of enemy air defenses, also known as Wild Weasel and Iron Hand operations. So you're going to be knocking out Russian S-300 anti-air before they can even detect your aircraft. The F-15 also has an advantage when it comes to the military buzzword of force multiplier. Its Legion pod allows it to pass off targeting data to another aircraft that has a better shot or is maybe within range. My understanding is the F-22 and F-35 can't do this. But what if you fired all your shots already, and you got all 12 missiles off? Then you turn to your traditional M61 Vulcan Gatling gun with 6 barrels that fire 20mm high explosive or armor-piercing rounds at 6,000 rounds per minute. Its magazine holds 500 rounds, and
It's not full metal jacket, right? Oh, yeah, this is like explosive one. Yeah, that I think what is a sniper rifle? Barrett? I forgot the name of that. The big one, right? That has like a multiple ammos, right? It also has an explosive ammo that explodes every time we hit it with a 50 caliber BMG round. I didn't know that before, not gonna lie. When I learned it, I was surprised. Like, what the fuck? That makes the sniper insane.
really gives that target kill a personal touch. Now, the US military might end up with more or less of these jets because requested budgets go up and down. History has shown the Air Force can have a bit of trouble letting go of legacy aircraft, but not without good reason. We'll probably see some new space-age quantum computer thrown into the cockpit to keep this thing in the skies into 2050. Let me know what you guys think of this new, old...
I think it's fucking awesome. Why? This is not an iPhone, man. This is a military jet. Physics don't change, right? If you can update it, there you go. Why not? I mean, sure, you can make something from scratch, but it's like, that's an insane waste of money. What, they use $1 trillion just to develop F-35? So at that point, come on. And F-15s are like undisputed, untouchable champions, right? They've never been shot down. So just update it. Why not? 2.5 mark is like, that's doesn't matter how best plane you develop from the scratch. 2.5 mark is still good, right? What are you gonna make, like something that goes over 3, Mark 3 or something? At that point, what you gonna do, right? There's a limit. The more you amp up the speed, it's like, by that point, like, fighter pilot cannot even process something at that speed. 2.5 is good. Well, that was America's new F-15-EX. It has a great radar, right? It has communication ability, like he said, like it can just pass off the information, like who's the best suited for what, and they can do it from there. Even like he said, F-35 and F-22 doesn't have that. F-35 can communicate and link up, but not like that. Yeah, this was great. Alright, well, if you like my next, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.